Hey, Justin from Gold Penguin here, and today I wanted to make a really cool video showing how to use ChatGPT to build an iPhone app. So today we're going to be using Xcode, and we're going to build it in Swift, and we're going to make a simple quiz app for anyone who wants to take a quiz. So first thing we're going to do is open up Xcode and create a new Xcode project. So yeah, once we're in Xcode, go to iOS and create a new app, and go ahead and call this quiz game, or whatever you want to call it. I'm going to kind of pretend that I don't really know how to code, but I also kind of know a little bit, so I'll try to use ChatGPT to show you, if you kind of are a beginner, just how powerful this really is. So we're going to go ahead and say, hi, I'd like to build a quiz app for iOS using Swift. The app will present a question and 4 answer choices. Yeah, I guess that's actually how we could start. So let's go ahead and see what this thing is going to say. Okay, so it gave us a little intro saying, Xcode is a free development tool by Apple. Okay, so if you're really a beginner, it'll tell you need a Mac, you need to get Xcode. And I'm going to say, okay, how should I start the project? I know it can remember a couple thousand lines. I'm not sure how much it remembers, but it doesn't really matter because we'll kind of be prompting it. So yeah, we're going to create a single view app. Next, Swift. Okay, perfect. So adding question answer, writing code to handle it. Okay. So what is the best method for storing the questions in our code? Kind of a simple question because we have questions and we need to kind of put them somewhere. And so we could have like a file that we're storing them in. Ideally, I think for this one, since we're only using a few questions, I'm actually going to ask it to make me a tuple. So it says, depending on the specific requirements. Okay, so I'm going to say, let's go with a tuple. Could you create me a list of 3 questions, each having 4 answer choices, as well as marking the correct answer? I apologize for my keyboard being in the recording, but I don't really have a proper mic right now. That'll get fixed in about a week or 2. Yeah, okay, so now hopefully it's going to create me a tuple, which is a way of a data structure, and it's going to have our questions, which will be 3 random questions. Okay. I did not really want that. Oh, there you go, perfect. Okay, so now we've got quiz. I think this is a little wrong though, because we don't want the correct answer to be in the question. Okay. Now let's say, can you get rid of the correct in each answer response? Because we see that it does give you correct answer 2, which each value corresponds to the index. So this answer is going to be 0, 1, and 2, but we're going to be displaying these directly onto our app. So we don't really want this to say correct because we already know it's going to be correct. So there you go. Now it got rid of it. I don't know why the formatting here is kind of messed up, but we're going to go ahead and copy this, and let's go into, oh, perfect, but the answer choices don't contain anything. Perfect. So let's head into Xcode and go to View Controller. I am going to be making this pretty simple, not really structuring it perfectly, but I just kind of wanted to show you how amazing and how powerful it is to do something like this. Okay, so I'm going to call this, we could keep it at quiz because it's going to remember that. This is very ugly though. Don't know why it's why the formatting is so weird, but okay, let's format this again. And now what we're going to do is ask this to display these. So this is going to be going a little out of this tutorial, but the way that we'll do this, and you could ask ChatGPT to do it for you, but I'm just going to go ahead and explain it to save some time. I think the main thing I want to show off is just the coding capabilities. So I'm going to make on our view controller, which has pretty much the app, the code that's going to run, and what it's going to look like. We're going to add a label. This label is going to be the question. I'm going to add another label, and this will be, let's just say, the score. And then we will add 4 buttons, and each one of the buttons, can we do any kind of cool button? Yeah, let's do a filled button. So each one of these buttons is going to correspond to a different answer choice. We're going to have one being A, B, C, and D. Okay, now let's just rename this label to, let's say, score. Let's rename this to question, and then let's call this answer A, answer B, answer C, and answer D. Okay, so something to note is we're gonna have to connect these to the code. So the way of doing this is you click on what you want to do, you hit the control button on your keyboard, hold that down, and drag this into the view controller class. So we're gonna call this score label, and we're gonna add one for the question, doing the same thing. Let's call this question label. And now we will add the buttons. So these buttons are going to be, we need to add them twice because they're going to function as a outlet and an action. So the outlet is basically how we're going to change the name, which will say the question or the answer is going to get displayed here. So go ahead and change this to outlet and call this answer A outlet. Then we're going to go ahead and do the same thing for the rest of these. Answer B outlet. Let's do answer C, and then answer D outlet. Make sure to change this. Okay, perfect. So we have our outlets and we have our labels at the top. Now let's make these the actual when a user clicks them. So this is going to be called. Actually, you know, we're gonna go back and let ChatGPT do this. But I'm gonna go ahead and tell it what these things are. But we want to say, okay. Now, how would we pick a random question every time a function called, let's call it newQuestion, is called? And now it's going to generate, hopefully, a random question from here. We're going to create a new function called randomElement, or actually we're going to call it newQuestion. And what it's going to do is return the question and the answers just like this. Okay. So we'll also explain to you what this is going to do. So let's see exactly. It's going to use randomElement, returns that. Note that randomElement returns an optional. Okay, force unwrap. Cool. Okay, let's say, how would we set the question string to the label called, and what did we call it over here? Called it question label. And hopefully, I'm going to go ahead and add this function as this works in the background. We will add that over here. Is this the end of that? Yeah, that is. Okay, let's see what it says to do. New question. Okay, so we actually are going to have to change it after this. So let's go back and do this. Okay, so this will generate us a new question, set the label text to that new question, instead of just returning it. Now let's run this app. Let's see how it goes, if we have any errors, any bugs yet. Surprised it actually ran on the first try. Pretty cool. And no, I've never done something like this before. I haven't done this exact tutorial, so a lot of the things it's telling me is new. So like if you are like an intermediate into coding things, you probably do understand what's going on, but you could kind of get what this is asking you to do without it, and if not, you can have it explain pretty much every step that we've done so far in better detail. So it's kind of really a good guide. It's kind of a mix between Google and GitHub Copilot. Okay, so we have the app running. Nothing is going to work yet, but we do want to set this question to update. So what I'm going to do is run this function when the app loads, just to hopefully have the question now get set up. Okay, perfect. We can't really see it here. And I'm not going to make this super responsive. Again, I just wanted to show how amazing this code is. Let's go ahead and make this bigger. We will also center it, make it slightly bigger. Guess we could change the font, make it a little lighter. 20, and yeah, I think that's pretty good. We'll make this a little bigger. Let's run this again. So now every time that this runs, we're going to have a question that gets generated. What is the largest planet in our solar system? But we don't want this to wrap. Okay, so there's going to be something in here. Now we're going to say, hey, when question label displays text, it often runs off the screen. How can we make this skip to a new line? I'm hoping he gives me the answer I'm thinking for. I'm hoping. I think it's going to. And I'm pretty sure this is it. Okay, so we're going to wrap the text so that if we do run off the screen, oh, what is this? Oh, okay, it actually did do it. It just kind of looks a little weird. Let's go ahead and copy this code, paste it back in here. I think we could do that here. Number of lines, 0. What is going on? What's going on? Oh, I need to put this inside of a function. So let's do this up here. So we're going to have these get displayed, and now everything should be perfect. Who is the current president of the United States? Which is a new question every time. Every time we reload the app, it's going to give us something different. How beautiful, how amazing. Now we need to set the answer choices. So we are going to say, let's go back to this, and then say, okay, perfect. How do I set each button to have the text corresponding to an answer choice? And we're not just going to leave it at this because I actually want it to tell us exactly what to do. I'm going to say the outlets are named as this. The answer outlets are named this, 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 and this. And we'll just change this to B, C, and D. And it hopefully will understand what I'm talking about to set the text of a UI button. And let's hope it does it. I am only going to copy this code because we have the we do have this function already. Let's copy this. Let's go back here, and we're going to add this under setting our label. So we now have our label, and we now have our answer choices that are set to this proper text. Remember, 0 is the first index, and then 3 is the fourth index. And let's see how it's looking. Oh, it can't find it actually. Answer, what did I spell wrong? Answer A outlet. Oh, okay, this is like that. Yeah, typos are crazy. Okay, perfect. What is the capital of France? Now we have these nice little buttons here where we could pick what the capital of France is. Okay, now we need to do a few more things. So we have a score that's not working. We have buttons that don't work. I'd say the first thing to do is every time that someone clicks one of these buttons, we're going to check if the answer was correct. So let's say, can we create a function called checkAnswer that gets run when a button is clicked, verifying if the answer selected is the correct answer. You do have to prime it in a way that, I mean, it does recognize natural language, but you kind of have to approach it from a coding standpoint where you can't just say, hey, make this do what I want it to do, make the button work. You have to say, okay, let's create a function, let's call it this, and what is it going to do? It gets run when a button is clicked, or when an answer button is clicked, actually. And then we're going to see if it's the right answer. So let's see what it's going to tell me to do now. Perfect. Define checkAnswer. Okay. So the issue is randomQuestion is getting a... Okay. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to break this down a little bit. So checkAnswer, we can move this back in. CheckAnswer is going to go into newQuestion, or no, it's not actually. We have a new function. CheckAnswer is going to say, hey, what is the, we're going to connect this to here. Select an answer int. Okay, but we don't want it to keep this random question string. So I think every time we have a random question, this is getting returned right now as the actual question. So we don't want this to generate every time. So I'm going to go ahead and okay, so a couple of minutes later, I ended up asking ChatGPT to make randomQuestion a global variable. So the reason I was doing this was when it was checking the answer, it was trying to set a random element again, and we did not want to reset this every time. So what we're going to do is take this randomQuestion, we're going to go ahead and set this pretty much anywhere. We could set it over here, and we're going to go ahead and update these functions so that we don't generate a new question every time. When we do hit new question, that's when we want to, we're going to change this to just edit this to a random element. But when we are checking for the answer, we are going to copy this, and then we're going to check without actually changing anything. So let's change this. Let's actually change the whole function. And now let's run this, but checkAnswer is actually not going to run yet. So if we click on this, nothing is going to work. And the reason is because now we need to set the buttons as actions. So let's go ahead and open our editor again, go back into our main, and let's go back up to where these are defined, and let's go ahead and create these as actions. So answer A, we're going to drag in, and let's call this answer A clicked, and let's go ahead and do this for all of them. Okay, Now once we're done, we can go ahead and look at how the checkAnswer function works. And so this says, hey, when checkAnswer is called, it's actually going to take in an integer, and that's going to be known as the selected answer. And the integer is going to be a number that we get to decide. But the way that this works is we're going 0, 1, 2, and 3. So we're going to check answer on each of these button clicks depending on what number they are. So this one is going to be 0 because it's going to correspond to Berlin. And we're just going to kind of keep this pattern going. So check answer 1, we could actually do this, and then we're just going to continue this. Okay, and just like that, we have an app that should be working. I could be wrong. Joe Biden, weird that these are kind of weird. Let's hit this and let's see what it says. It says correct. We hit this one, it says incorrect. We hit this, it says incorrect. Pretty awesome. I'm actually really happy at how quick this happened. And okay, but now we do have a few more changes that we need to make just for some quality of life changes. Let's add a score. Let's add a another thing is, I swear these are kind of wrapping. Okay, I'll leave these alone. So regardless of if you get the answer correct or not, I think we're still going to change the question. So we're going to go ahead and say new question. This will set the text and the new tiles. So we're going to generate that regardless. You could play around with this if you only wanted to move on if they get it right. Go ahead. But yeah, we'll still have everything getting printed to the console, but we're going to have a new question. Let's go back and now let's add some scoring. So we can go and add this under here. Let's call this user score. And we will set this equal to an int equal to 0. Okay, if the correct answer is right, I'm just going to take the user score plus equals and let's add 5 points. And then if the answer is wrong, I'm going to take the user score and I'm going to subtract 3 points. I think that's kind of it. I think that's it for the score. And then this we will do every time a new question is generated, we are going to update the actual score text, which is called score label.text, and we're going to set that equal to the user score. This actually probably won't work because this is an int, so what we'll do is we will type these little brackets like we're saying text, setting the score label to high, but then we're going to add a backward slash, parentheses, and then in here we're going to do user score. So now we have this getting displayed as a string. Let's reload this. And boom, who's the current president of the United States? Joe Biden. We've got 5 points. Capital France, let's give the wrong answer. We're at 2. Largest planet, again, we're at negative. So there's so many options and so many things that you could do with this. What is the capital of France? Now let's see how this is working. Yeah, and every time you start this, it's going to run new question. We could keep this documentation here if we want, which we will. And yeah, so what I'll do is I'll go ahead and upload this repo in the description or to GitHub and then put that in the description. I think everything is working. I think everything is good. We could add a strike system if we really wanted to. I could even ask ChatGPT, like, how would we add a strike system? After 3 strikes, the user loses the game and the screen... I guess we could do that later, but yeah, the user will lose the game after 3 strikes. I really wonder what it's going to suggest, but not going to do that in this video. And this is also pretty ugly, but just to show you that with pretty much very little coding knowledge, I mean, the things that I did could also be explained by ChatGPT. This really works great if you have some knowledge, but if you don't have any knowledge, this is kind of the confidence booster that you could use to get started. I mean, you could ask it to explain anything to you. If you want to understand how all of this works, how does this quiz work and the questions and how everything kind of goes. But it's really cool and really correct. Let's see what it's set to do for this. So strike system would be, okay, we're going to be adding strikes. And then, yeah, if the user hits 3 strikes, then they lose. It'll reset this. Yeah, so this is actually pretty easy to do. We could, I'll go ahead and add that real quick. Let's add a strike system. So if the correct answer is here, but if not, we do need to start with adding strikes in general. So we're going to make this call user strikes, set this as an int and equal this to 0. If the question is wrong, user strikes is going to increase by 1. And then when we do check the answer, actually this will be because we run new question after this. So if user strikes is greater than or equal to 3, we are going to just say lose game. This would obviously be configured to, move to a new screen, play a different sound, or do whatever. But I think that's kind of all we need. Earth, do we have a strike? We do not have it update the strikes, but let's just get these wrong a few times. And yeah, lose game. We lost 3 times, 3 incorrects, got those 3 strikes and lost the game. We could also create another label up here, add the strikes. But yeah, pretty much everything kind of just expands from here. But this is pretty much the simplest way of creating a mini quiz game with our 4 answer choices, a correct answer, and our questions, easily able to get added into one coding file. We also have our checkAnswer function, our newQuestion function. This is what, 2 functions, 1 quiz with all the data, a few global variables, and then a few functions for when we check our answers. Hope this was helpful. If you want any other tutorials using ChatGPT 3, if you are new to coding and you would like to do something like this, I really encourage you to get started. You can really do a lot, and you can have this explain really anything you want to you. If you don't understand, let's say, can you explain how the quiz array works? And it's just going to be able to explain everything to you. So if you are feeling a little flustered that you don't really know everything about code, go ahead and just ask it anything you want. But this really will walk you step by step into creating anything or a lot of the things that you want. So if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. It really helps the channel out. Subscribe if you are new. And that is pretty much it. Awesome. Yep, leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.